Good afternoon, guys. You okay?
Yeah, we're not
good,
so
thanks.
bad. You've had an eventful day. You've been at the KickX Arena. Now, these kind of hybrid football games that a lot of the listeners will know about, things like certainly tech ball, that's probably the most famous, but there's pad ball and jorky ball and panna people will know as well. So you've been trying them all out.
I have indeed, and as well, not just that. You know, I've, I wanted to be make people aware of KickX in this arena. I remember when I actually wanted to birthday party, for instance, my son. I came across it. That's how I came across it. He wanted to play football. I mean, what happened? The weather was horrendous. His birthday's around November time, so you can imagine what the weather was like then. And we found this place where it was just all these different events, and I just felt the energy straight away and the fun because I
Mm.
think at times when you see sort of really high elite sport and anything, sometimes it's not fun. You just feel like people are at times can be too serious, which is not a bad thing. But again, we take the fun away from it. And this basically sort of resonated with myself and brought me back to my childhood. And it reminded myself of what I was doing to get me to the level I was at, particularly grassroots. And this really just hit the nail on the head when I just met with the guys, Vic, and I just want to be part of the team really, and just to get the word out there. I mean, all the sort of arenas you were just saying there. I mean, pad ball is very similar to paddle. A lot of the sportsmen at this moment in time are playing, paddle.
Yeah.
This is essentially using the football and your feet. So, and I was pretty good at that. So, yeah, it's something I want to be part of. These little micro-sided games, and it's just fun, and it just wants people to actually feel like they can be in a safe environment without the abuse, should we just say, that you see at times on the sidelines. And it's no, regardless of the level as well, I think it's really important it's less pressure,
It's
but
good
it's
for
fun. That's what it's
developing
about.
skills, I think, for kids as well.
Yeah, certainly sort of the small-sided stuff. It's in Surrey, isn't it? In Addleston.
It is in Surrey,
Yeah.
that's correct. So it's another zone here right now, and is you're right. Just to develop your technique, I was someone who didn't have loads of skills, to be honest. I was someone who just drop the shoulder and go and use my pace. But I do feel like if I had something like this as a kid,
Hmm.
it may have developed me to do a few quicker step overs, should we just say? But it's yeah, it's pretty exceptional. I mean, like I say, it's brought the kid out of me, and I
Oh.
think it's always not a bad thing at times.
Kickxfootball.com if
That's
you want to
good.
find out a
Sounds
bit
great.
more about the venue. Let's reflect on yesterday. It was very entertaining stuff. Certainly, if you didn't support Arsenal or City, I kind of felt earlier on that Arsenal won on points. They'll come away from that.
See,
ultimately.
I don't agree. Danny didn't agree with you either. I thought that it could have been City could have been out of sight. They were so on top in the early part of the game. Then Arsenal were on top and could have won the game if Trossard hadn't got sent off. But the second half was so one-sided. I know they
but
defended brilliantly, but
Do you think they would have taken a point before they got there, Theo?
Yeah, no, I said this. I feel like they would have, of course. And what the issue was last year was losing the likes of West Ham, Fulham, and Villa. Look, I know Villa are a very good team, but they are the points that Man City don't lose to these games, these teams, particularly at home. And I just feel like coming away from the game, yes, they'll be disappointed that they dropped the points at the end, but they still have made it's still close and touching distance, and that's what you need to be at Man City because they've got the squad to do it. And yes, it could have been, they could have, wiped the floor with Arsenal, of course, but I just feel like they just showed a robustness. And yes, little sort of dark arts, we say, slowing the game down. Everyone, when the season goes on, people will just think, look, they'll remember the result, won't really remember the performance. Results business right now, I feel. So look, it was very disappointing to go down to 10 men, I've got to say, because you need to be able to learn from your lessons. I get that. But I sense the frustration in the Arsenal camp because of obviously other incidents that have happened. Of course, Pedro at the first game, and now obviously Doku, sorry. But I do feel like he did try to give the ball back. But we just got to tell players, just leave the ball. You've learned your lesson. I think as well, if you notice Timber straight away, if you watch it very closely, knows that Leandro's messed up.
Yeah.
So they know it as players, but look, it's hard to do it in the moment. I get it.
If you're going to push the envelope to the point that they do, if you're going to take it to the nth degree
Sure.
in the S-Housery stakes, which Arsenal have been doing, I mean, even Ange Postecoglou said last week one of the reasons Tottenham couldn't get going was that Arsenal were constantly slowing the game down, and there's nothing wrong with that as a tactic. But if you're right on the margins, you are going to pick up more cards. So we maybe should get used to this over the course of the season.
But as well, referees will add time to this. So as much as the players are going to waste time, the referees are smart now. I remember being at Southampton, and at times, yes, we used to go down to slow the game down at times just to get your breath back, and you basically rotate the players. So referees they're not stupid. They understand the game. They really do.
Arsenal defended brilliantly, didn't they? But I was going to say that there was a feeling that Pep probably got it slightly wrong. That he didn't have anybody on the edge of the box, and in the end, the goal came from a shot, didn't it? I mean, that was really the only way they were going to get through, I think.
Yeah, I mean the thing is they had players on the box, but just probably had the wrong type of player.
Mm.
I mean, we're not really used to seeing goals from outside the box. I know we've seen a few recently with Duran, of course, and Calafiori yesterday, but you want to have people that would practice this day in, day out every day, the way that Arsenal practice set pieces every day. You want the guys that can hit the corners, hit them from distance. And yeah, that was the one thing I'd say that City didn't do. But when Jack came on, Grealish particularly asked a different question of Arsenal by going on the outside, just to encourage that bit more to actually make something happen. I feel like people were getting a little bit bored at times. I think we just need to shoot, and the fans as well getting a bit frustrated. But look, I just felt like Man City were always going to score at some point. They really well, they always do.
Let's have a chat about Tyler Dibbling at your old club, Southampton. You've been there, coming through the academy, and he looks a player. That was a lovely finish, great feat for the goal the other day.
He looked good in the first last week as well.
Yeah, he had a little spell at Chelsea, but apparently the scouts were out in force yesterday watching him play. He looks a player, doesn't he, Theo?
He does. We've been there before, haven't we?
Yeah.
we build up these players, which is absolutely understandable. I get that when we see these athletes perform, but he is an athlete. You can see the size of him is already as well. There's very likes of the Gareth Bale sort of physique, and the way he's got a bit of a swag about him on the field, like a Jack Grealish type. And look, it's one of those you've got to let him develop in the background, but Southampton might not be able to do that considering the start they've had. So he's going to have to perform, but can perform in a safe environment, and I feel like he's only going to get improved. But we just need to be patient. But he's got a good manager around him that's going to encourage freedom, and I think that's what we lack at times, particularly this new generation of talent coming through, inverted wingers. We can be a bit negative and come back on his side and pass it back, but he does like to go on the outside, which I'm a big fan of, not just being too predictable. So I think he's got a very successful career ahead of himself, that's for sure. Definitely, it's a good academy, that Southampton place. To be fair, not bad.
It's going to be
good news for Everton fans, though. And you had your time at Everton, so
yeah,
hopefully they can.
I know you've been busy, but I don't know if you're aware that the takeover looks like it's going through. So there's some good news for them at last.
Yeah, it's one of those where the players look, they can only control what's happening on the field in this moment in time. And yes, they'd be disappointed with dropping points. They need to, of course, start getting some points. Otherwise, it's going to be a really big ask. But look, it's one of those things that can be off the back of the club itself, the fans having that stability. I think is really important. So, and of course, the stadium plans and seeing it develop is incredible. So they need to be in the Premier League, and everyone wants to see Everton, Liverpool still, and Liverpool, Everton. So it's really important for the league, I believe.
Yeah. So finally, do you feel this is? I mean, look, it's the width of a cigarette paper, but do you feel this is Arsenal's year? You think they're better equipped this year than they were last year to go all the way?
I do. I feel like, again, maybe I'm being too biased. I'm not so sure, but I think the fact when you miss certain players and it lacks a little bit of creativity in this team, but still manage to get through certain games, and the teams they played as well at this moment in time, Arsenal have been, pretty good teams. I can't lie about that. And look, I feel like they're ready to do it. It's just, can they keep up with City and not afford to drop points against the lesser teams who would just say no offense to anyone. But look, if you want to win the league, they're the games where it matters, because Man City do not mess up.
No.
They really.
Yeah, I think they'll do it, because I think City will be affected by these 115 charges in some way or other, even if it's not resolved. And I just think also they defend so well. That's what you need. And
in some ways, you don't want to win it like that, though, do you? I mean, no, I'm sure.
I think they're good enough to win it. I think they're good enough to win it anyway.
You'll want to win it on the pitch.
Does anyone remember how Greece won the Euros?
Yeah, well, no.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly. Who cares? You're right.
Exactly.
I suppose so. Yeah. Cheers, Theo. All the best.
Well, thank you, guys. You take care.
There we are. Theo Walcott there. kickxfootball.com if you want to find out more about the KickX arena and all the stuff and the different sorts of football you can have a go at down in Addleston in Surrey.
And their results against each other and against Liverpool will be pretty crucial, because those three are the three that are going for it, I think.
Yeah. And he was saying earlier on, we were saying that the top four, the race for top four, I mean, it's top five again, I think, if teams do well in Europe. As far as I know, that is still the situation. No, it is.
They've got more teams than we have in Europe. So.
You can't rely on that.
If somebody was to win the Europa or the Conference or whatever, that would help.
Yeah, but there's so many teams going for top four, aren't there? You would say if you're
United,
saying
Villa, Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle. Have I left anybody out? I don't think I have, but somebody will be screaming at the radio. But those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Trying to fight for one place.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.